Do you feel like you've checked all the boxes, reached the goals, and done everything you were supposed to do? But somehow you feel disconnected, unsure of who you are anymore, stuck in survival mode, and invisible in your own life. I know, I've been there. Feeling like I was only someone's mother, daughter, friend, wife, boss, but who was I? As someone who's been a licensed marriage and family therapist for 26 years and a retired Marine, I've seen the pain in women's eyes when they realize they've lost themselves. And they don't know how to get back. You can do something to change this. If you're a high-achieving woman over 40, this is for you. This summer in the North Carolina mountains, I'm hosting the Identity Reset Retreat. It's a trauma-informed, nervous system-based experience designed to help you reclaim your boundaries, restore your energy, and reconnect with who you are beneath all of those roles. This isn't a getaway. It's identity rehabilitation. It's identity recovery. You can learn more and apply at the link below. Welcome to Leadership Beyond Burnout. This is the sanctuary for leaders who are done pretending everything's fine while silently running on fumes. Here we explore what it truly means to heal, lead, and succeed without sacrificing your soul or sanity. In each episode, we invite bold, brilliant minds who've navigated burnout, breakthrough, and bold reinvention. Now, this isn't just leadership as usual. This is the revolution of the resilient, and you're invited to pull a seat up to the fire. So let's begin to dive in. So one of our sponsors today is Leadership and Resilience Consultants. And they ask, are you tired of soft solutions to hard problems? The Resilient Leader Labs was built for leaders who break rules and glass ceilings. This isn't wellness theater. It's a strategic lab where we weaponize recovery, resilience, and radical clarity to create fearless, burnout-proof leadership. Lead like you mean it. And we'll have the QR code in the comments section, and you'll be able to sign up and learn all about this. Now let's get to today's guest. Today's guest is Vanessa Davis-Frederick. She is a native of Atlantic Beach, Florida, a wife, a mother, and friend. She's worked on marketing and business development for some of Northeast Florida's largest arts and cultural venues and was just named Top 20 Under 40 by Florida Black Excellence. Vanessa stays connected by hosting a community-led live radio show, being a part of special events around the Gullah Geechee Corridor, and writing for local publications. And without further ado, let's bring Vanessa on.
Hey.
Hey, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here today. And so bright and shiny outside. And we're excited to dive in.
Yeah, as a Florida girl, my best asset is the sunshine.
Yes, I love the Florida sunshine, but that you all can keep the humidity. I thought South Carolina and North Carolina was humid, nothing on Florida.
Nope.
So tell me, how do you feel like you bring healing to the world?
Thank you for that question. I bring healing to the world by honoring and respecting the practices of the people that came before me. Even though we're in a modern world, right, there's still some tried and true traditions that work. And I consistently bring them up, bring light to them, and show up in spaces so I can remind people about them.
Okay, and that's Inspiring. I'd love to back up just a little bit because I believe there are some people that have no idea what Gullah Geechee Corridor means or the people or the history. So I'd love for you to just share a little bit of that because I don't want that question lingering in people's mind or them to just let it pass by and not know.
Understood. So the first coast of the United States of America is considered that eastern coast. And there is a nation that is of the original people that came to the coast, um, called the Gullah Geechee Nation. It is centered around rice. So if you have family members that can trace their lineage back to North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, between Jacksonville, North Carolina, and Jacksonville, Florida, essentially,
Wow.
you're considered Gullah Geechee. And like I said, it's centered around rice, indigo, a lot of the things that the people who are now considered native to that area um, brought with them from Africa and continue to live in that manner up until today.
Mm.
We are sea coastal people. We call ourselves living on sea islands. So, Jekyll Island, St. Simon Island, Sapelo Island, a lot of those islands, St. Helena Island up in North Carolina, Hilton Head, if you've heard of that area. If you've ever been there, you've seen remnants of the Black and Brown community that was there first. When the first settlers came, if anybody remembers the Roanoke, I'm not going to do a full history lesson, but the Roanoke community that was first brought to the Americas, they all died on the islands because of mosquitoes, and they weren't able to, get food together the way they should have. But once they moved down to the southern coastal islands and brought the Africans with them that were used to working in the swampy conditions that were similar to the coastal islands here, the Africans thrived, and that's what coalesced as the Gullah Geechee Nation. Georgia, some of South Carolina and North Carolina call themselves Gullah mostly, but down in Florida we call ourselves Geechee. Some Georgia people call it Geechee. And back in the day, it used to be a slang term if you're
Mm-hmm.
something derogatory. But like I said, there's now a nation. We're federally recognized. The Queen has spoken at the UN.
Oh.
She does state visits. We do now the now the EPA are asking us how we lived next to the water and didn't have as many problems and how to reverse some of the damages that were done by people who displaced us from the coast. So we are a mighty nation. If, like I said, if you know anybody in your family that can trace their lineage down to these coasts, you are Gullah Geechee. We fam.
Oh, wow. And I love that you shared that about the nation because that was I intended to ask that after I heard you say the word nation. Like, is there an independent governance? And I hadn't even intended on getting into that. So thank you. I ended up giving me a little lesson because I didn't know that part. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Look it up, Gullah Geechee Nation on Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff, and you'll see more information about it.
Oh, man. So I want to get into roots and inspiration. So growing up in Atlantic Beach and now being so deeply involved in the Gullah Geechee Corridor, how have your roots and local culture shaped the way you show up in your work and in your community? And
Yeah. First of all, beach time, if anybody is ever vacation on the beach or, spend time even on the West Coast, shout out to the West Coast, beach time is definitely a thing. Things are a lot slower. Things are a lot more family oriented. It's more community based. Um, Safety is super important, but also we benefit from exercise like water sports and other things like that, water, using the waterways and walking. But I benefit from living and being raised here. My father was born here, he's raised here, and my mother is from Ghana, West Africa. And so I got a lifestyle of a mixed kid. I mean, I am African and American. And with that, I take it as a superpower because I was able to really make those parallels between my life here on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean and my mom's life on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, and the similarities and the differences. And that's what really with this, help of my family, powered me forward into caring about my Gullah Geechee heritage and moving forward with it. So, I really like to be able to say, hey, these things have been happening for now, millennia. These people have been in this is what the people who look like me, my ancestors, would have done. And so why do I feel like, teaching my kids how to wash rice, teaching them, different songs and experiences. Why do I feel like that should go away now that it's a different time period? 2025 and 1925, some things still remain the same, and you can use those those traditions to help propel you forward.
Right, right. And I feel especially with the economic strife that we're facing now, and you talk about 1925, and there were a lot of traditions or practices or the ways that people cook, and rice is definitely one of those staples where people were able to survive these hardships because they made the most of what they have rather than this instant culture we have where it's, oh, just go to the drive-through and get this and get that, or I need lobster, I need steak, I need, well, of course if you're in the ocean you can get that at a lower price, but yes, that's, so those practices are definitely becoming more relevant. I'm curious, were there experiences early on that inspired your commitment to arts, culture, and storytelling?
Well, like any good Geechee girl, any good African girl, I definitely have to give all the props up to my parents. My mother, like I said, being from West Africa, when she had me, I was the last born, and so they'd already been in the
Mm,
States for some time. And my family had started a nonprofit doing a lot of cultural events in and around Northeast Florida, celebrating things like Kwanzaa and bringing things to the community like the Black Expo. And so I was kind of already in the spirit, thankfully to my parents, of community organizing. My father helped bring the first African city, sister city, to Florida, which is Nelson Mandela Bay. And he was starting a citizens action committee down at the beaches when he unfortunately passed from pancreatic cancer. And so
mm,
my mother, at that time, being an immigrant with three girls, had to definitely figure a lot of the American system out on her own, the places that my father would have stepped in the gap for us. And so it was definitely a struggle. African mentality is going to tell you, like my mom's tribal tradition would have been we were to go live in my uncle's house, but we are not in Africa. We are
right,
America, and the American tradition I is very different.
right.
It was really lonely. A lot of the things that in Africa, maybe she would have had somebody just come and live with her as a part of our traditions. American individualism does not account for that, and so
Right,
we
that
had.
collectivism is special, and we don't understand that.
And I mean, it's not as if anybody has never experienced death. So, the changes that it's going to take, the toll that it's going to take on that family. But glory to God, my mother got all three of us through college. I'm the only lazy one who doesn't have a master's. Everybody else has a master's degree. But, I'm thankful for that community bond and unit. And at that point in time, remembering my father's legacy and using that to propel us forward with our studies in the community, with relationships, and just, making sure we still have that honor of where we come from and who we are.
Okay, okay. Now, you wear so many hats, right? You said wife, mother, radio host, marketer, cultural advocate. How do you navigate the balance between your personal life, public work life, while still staying aligned with your values and purpose?
Uh, I am a avid believer in determining where you find your wealth, where your riches are. So post COVID, like a lot of people, I had a realization that hey, this company doesn't really care about me. um like truly is, I got up, went to work every day. I was very dedicated, but at the end of the day, I had to say, okay, what is important to me truly? Is it my health? Because when I come in here, I'm super stressed. Like when I drive into the parking lot, I don't like, I tense up. So
Mm,
if my health is important to me, then I might need to reconsider. My mental health is that important. Working in spaces, unfortunately, with people who do not share your culture, sometimes you can definitely understand that, hey, maybe what I'm used to doing isn't quite welcome.
mm.
So, is that important to me? Being able to show up in myself authentically, that's super important. And at that time, I had a 2-year old and a 4-year old, and they're both little girls. Is it important to me to show up like the woman that I want them to grow up to be?
Mm.
So, yes, modeling is super important, and I mean, we all know it. Listen to what I say, not what I do, has never worked.
Right, right.
So I mean, me really taking a moment, which is kind of radical in America because we feel like we're in a rat race, but taking a
Mm.
moment to say what is truly important to me and then acting like it.
Now
So I
that,
had to reassess what I was doing.
and I think you said something so crucial is actually walking your talk, because I feel like so many people espouse balance and really taking time and setting back, but they're not doing any of that. It is just all for the gram. If I'm to date myself, it's all for social media, but not really walking in that. Um, I'm curious, are there practices or philosophies that really help you maintain the presence in all areas that you navigate?
Yes. First of all, and this has really nothing to do, well, it does because what you are, what you eat, but 3 meals a
Mm,
day is very Eurocentric. I eat when I'm hungry. I listen to my body and I eat the things that feed it. So if I'm having a sweet tooth or something, hey, maybe I am feeling deficient in one of those food groups and one of those irons, those minerals or things like that. So I listen to my body in that way and I feed it the things that it needs. I don't just eat because it's breakfast or eat because it's lunch, or I definitely don't eat late at night. And, it shows. I'm not so tired. I try not to eat in the car.
mm,
I try to sit down at a table and eat, and I know that's very different and difficult, and we're always on the go, but A, it keeps my car clean. I got 1,000
mm.
kids. So it keeps my car clean. And B, it gives me that moment to actually digest my food like the way you're supposed to do it. But I mean, that's a Gullah Geechee tradition.
Wow.
Um, I will also throw in, most importantly, when we have Gullah Geechee Nation meetings, Black people, we don't have times on there
Mm,
because we know sometimes things are moved out of order. Sometimes we start a little late. Um, in African tradition, mostly, I can't speak for the entire continent, but in African tradition, and in celebrating things like Kwanzaa, you ask before you start, you ask the elder, has everybody arrived? And that is
mm.
because the elder will know, well, so and so is sick, so they're not going to come, and so still at work. So the elder will tell us, is it appropriate for us to start? And that's a part of that Gullah Geechee tradition. And the way I take it into my life is, I have a running list of things. I have to reframe how I organize myself. So I don't demonize myself for not making things like at the minute. I'm more than just kind of try to organize the things that I know I have to do in a level of priority, and then work that way. And I'm really open with my family and honest about if I'm able not to make it, if I don't have the resources to do what I said I was going to do. I mentioned that early on, or if I'm feeling queasy about it, I mentioned that early on, so then I can now spread the work in and amongst the community. And I feel like a lot of people feel like, this, I took political science as my degree. It's called American individualism. I come home, I get into my garage, I wash the dishes that I make. I didn't make that mess, so I'm not cleaning it. We have these ideas of, us being judged solely on our actions for ourselves. Meanwhile, if you're, speaking of this African tradition, Gullah Geechee traditional, if you follow the Bible, we need each other to survive. This is a community thing. And so breaking away from feeling like, okay, if I told them in the meeting that I was going to have this paper ready and it's Wednesday and the meeting's on Friday and I still haven't done it, I'm going to open my mouth to the community that I owe this to. And, I'm within this community. I know they love me. I know they want to help me. So either we'll push the date back, or somebody else can help me, or some way that us as a community can come to the solution of the problem.
So, I so many. You just. I'm not sure which question to start with. I have one about whether or not your sisters follow in the same traditions, and how does that work? I have one about how you navigate this honoring that culture, but yet coming up against things like American individualism and time. Because, like, of course, we were like, okay, we're meeting today at such time. Which one? You
just open about it. I put myself in spaces and around people that I can speak to like that. And some of that is alignment. Obviously in my day job, I work as I own a virtual assistant company. So I tell people straight up, if this isn't a good fit for you or for me, sometimes saying no to that dollar is better for your health. If I have to rip and run around town for you and I'm still begging you to pay the invoice, I set up my first contracts with people are either month to month or 3 months. If I'm if you're a new client, because after 3 months, like any good relationship, you can tell after about 90 days if this is a good fit. Yes, my sisters still, we still do a lot of African things, and a lot of Gullah Geechee stuff. My one sister's up in DC currently, and she's always on the scene. She gets the grace of being around a lot of embassies and things like that, and she took after my father and went into the Peace Corps as well in Senegal. And another sister of mine, she is a member of all these social groups, and she's board member, this and that. And, anytime there's a, world experience kind of day, she's definitely there representing her and my nephew. And yeah, we're steep. If my mother calls, we still go. My mom still weaves baskets and things like that, and sells her art now that she's retired. She's jet sets wherever she wants. I pray to be like her when I get older. But yeah, the world in America will try and tell you that there's scarcity. But if you believe in God, then there's abundance. And so it is a constant effort, especially as a mother with kids who are kind of in this situation, to say, hey, I know what you're seeing on TV is telling you one thing. I know what you're experiencing with some of your classmates is telling you one thing. But when you get home, you got to understand that this is what reality is. And we do, old African traditions like grounding. We sit and talk a lot. We have, no screen time. Just last night, there was like a little free movie night. So we all got our snacks together and got blankets and went outside. We live in a cul-de-sac. We let the kids rip and run around. They walk around. And, we're still trying to raise them, kind of in those traditional ways within the scope of what life is right now. But kind of making sure they understand what home base is and building that community for them. Because it's not just me and my husband raising them. It's, my mother, my sister, their aunts, our friends. Just making sure they have that community and understand that village mentality.
And you said we still engage in African traditions like grounding. And when you said that, the first thing that came to mind is how many traditions or practices have been, I don't know what word I want to use, converted, sanitized to be as if they're Eurocentric. And a lot of times people don't know the origins of them. And some of those spaces like yoga, even though it's an Asian Indian tradition, that's where it's come from. Those are not the people that promote or make money for it. And so
in terms of yoga specifically, it's written in hieroglyphs. Yoga is Egyptian.
Wow. Okay, so it goes back even further than that.
Yeah, it's African. You're welcome. So, yeah, there's a lot of that. And like I said earlier with the Gullah Geechee Nation, the places like the EPA and the Army Corps of Engineer are speaking to the Queen of the Gullah Geechee Nation to figure out how we were able to live next to the water and not have so much acidification and not overfish and not this, that, and the other. The traditions led to that. Certain seasons you don't pick up fish. We all know if it's a certain size, you throw it back because it's still growing. Florida has rock or stone crabs. Stone crabs, you can break the arms off of them, sell just the arm, and leave the crab in the ocean to regenerate. You don't have to commercially fish them all up, right? But if you are thinking of a corporation mindset, it's easier for me to just get a net, collect them all, and now you don't have as many stone crab anymore, and that messes up the ecosystem. Black people everywhere have always understand their position with themselves and the environment and the necessity of the environment in order for us to live. So it's quite unfortunate that a lot of people kind of get that whitewashed version. As a Gullah Geechee, I'm just happy you care enough to try. As an African, same thing. If you care enough to learn and listen, I don't care who teaches you. If it's the right way, try it. If you encounter yoga through an Indian person or a white girl, at Club Pilates, I would try it. Still, even though it's not the original African way or whatever, as long as you're moving your body and you're trying these things and you're understanding that, this is now your place in your environment. I can't say that I wish every book had the truth on it. It's too late. I would just want you to, if it's speaking to you, if you spoke to your mom or you remember grandma used to write in her journal, try it. See how that might help you.
So that really speaks to when you talk about the being in the right environments and things like that, and just your workplace and in different spaces. Because you talked about not feeling as it could you show up as your authentic self. I think that is so difficult when people have this idea of what things are supposed to be and what their internal experience is. They try to mute that so that they can fit in. Like I had an experience recently of going to New York. I knew quickly this is not the city for me. I'm not even sure I want to visit it. You know, like it was just so busy and chaotic that it just did not make my whole body was just agitated the whole time.
Mm-hmm. It's nice to visit New York. It's super expensive as well. You know what I mean? So, but it's a nice place to visit. And for some people, like I said, my sister's up in DC now. She works in finance. She loves to go on trips. So being in DC, being close in proximity to New York, you know, we have cousins and family members all over the world. She's able to get there, you know, quicker than any of us are. She lives, you know, she has no kids. She's not married. So, you know, that works for her lifestyle. And I'm happy to go visit her with the kids and just experience and at that time, but it's just not for me. So it takes being honest to yourself. It takes kind of stepping out of survival mode into that abundance mindset. Because if you feel like I have to go get this dollar because this is the way I know how to make money and I can't do it any other way, but you know, it's not speaking to your soul. You feeling agitated. Like you said, in New York, you're agitated. Every fiber of your being is like, this is not for me. What are you training your body? What are you telling yourself? You know, you're telling yourself that in order to make this dollar, I have to feel anxious. I have to feel, I have to, or I'm not making money. That stress causes cancer, point blank, period. And we can't do that.
Yeah, a myriad of diseases.
You know, so let's be smart about that. And it myriad of diseases, including the mental illness, which can help, hurt your relationships. It hurts that community that you need to survive. So, it's life or death for me. If I'm walking into a space and I feel like, hey, this may not be for me. Even if I have to do work that's different and figuring out how I can use this as a moment to do it and then clock the next time that I might have to do it. Maybe I have to do it a different way. Maybe I have to shorten my time in there. Maybe I need a liaison to help me. Maybe there's somebody in my community that's better at this particular thing that I can lean on to work with or help me out. But I am so fully consumed with modeling for my children and the relationships within my household, that it is important to me that I am not, in a world that is super, it's going to irritate you anyway. The tire going to go flat. The car's, you know what I mean? Things are going to irritate you anyway. Why put myself in situations knowingly, I'd rather not.
That are onerous, that you before you even get there, you're just like, oh, why do I have to deal with this? Why do I have to deal with this person?
Man, when I tell you the last, corporate job I had, when I would turn down the street, I know so many of you can understand what I'm talking about. When I would turn down the street to my office, my whole body would just like, you don't want to be there. 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 Why are we here? Why are we here? And I would take that little moment in the car and say, go get the money. Go get the we all have been through it. So that's why it's so revolutionary for your leadership course and your leadership offerings of the consultant, your sponsor. If you're having that hard time breaking out of that mentality and everything is not right, but you feel like you still have to keep doing this and still have to, you're building up these calluses where you should be building your resilience. So taking advantage of something like, that leadership and resilience consultant sponsor that you have for today is super important because, you you're not helping yourself. You're not helping yourself. It affects every bit of your life. So take it, really think about what's important to you and take that first step.
And I think you just created somewhat of a mantra to live by instead of trying to build up your callousness, build up your resilience. Because there are so many things.
They say time heals all wounds, but let's think about it, right? When I lost my father, I can still cry about him tonight, like it happened yesterday. So when you get a scar, it heals over, but it's never the same.
Right.
And first has to come that scab, right? And sometimes it gets infected, right?
Right.
And when you look back at that scar, it may have healed over, but you're not the same. And so this feeling of individualism and being in this rat race, if you don't have a community to kind of help anchor you back to what reality is, it's super important that you look at, hey, resilience. How can I bounce back? Because I could go, when I got married, tears, because my father's not there to walk me down the aisle.
Yeah.
But would I have met this man? Would I have lived this life? Would I have been with, all these other variables come back. So that was the leadership that he left me, the resilience that I, learned from being in my family and understanding my place in this world. I can still build and feel like my father is with me in that way. When I look at my kids, I see him and his actions, and I can feel happiness about it instead of spiraling into anxiety and depression.
Right. And when you talk about scars and healing, but to still never be the same, I think it's so important as well to look at the fact that how do your scars heal if they keep being the scab is continually pulled off and you stay in environments that are harming you. Because I do absolutely understand that not everyone has the luxury to say, I'm going to be a business owner and I'm not dealing with this anymore, because that's just not how some people are built. But maybe it's looking at, am I even in the right job? Maybe there's something else in my organization that's more aligned with who I am. Or if you see things continually popping up, like it's time to say, well, I don't want to touch that stove if it keeps burning me. So I don't know if you've noticed it. I'm not even sure what side. Okay, it's over here. There's a scar that I got when I was 8 years old. I fell off my bike, right? Bloody. The doctor didn't stitch it up right, just awful. But nobody ever made a big deal of that. I forget most of the times that I even have it because I'm so focused on everything else. But I know someone else could see that just as a wound continually and keep operating and maybe hide, and they're putting on makeup to cover it. I don't know what's there half the time because it's not important to me. Now, I want to shift for a second because you've been recognized as the top 20 under 40 by Florida Black Excellence. And that's incredible. Thanks. And so your accolades, what moments or experience in your journey do you think bring you the deepest sense of fulfillment and remind you why you do what you do?
That's a great question. I enjoy seeing the light click for people around me. I don't always enter a conversation feeling like I have the right answer, but I do like to come to an understanding. So if I'm able to, bring to light things about the Gullah Geechee Nation, like that, the beginning of our conversation was great, because you got interested and, you really learned something. So I love to impart that information with love. And so I taught for a little bit in my career. Now I feel like I'm teaching full time with my kids. We all experience COVID teaching the kids. So,
So you're about to bring up some trauma.
I
Like,
know it.
I don't know how to do it.
But once we both got it, that light clicking is super. It's beautiful. And it comes from spending time with kids. It comes from intergenerational relationships. So there are things that I can learn from my elders. There are things that I learn from my children, like 6, 7. That's new, and I'm sure it's going to go away as soon as I learn it. But those intergenerational relationships, the light clicking for me, the light clicking for you, it brings us closer together, and doing it with love, not out of a place of academia or I know this over you. We share this environment, so we're sharing information, hopefully for the betterment of the people around us. And the accolades come and go. I definitely enjoy, being recognized. Who doesn't? But it's more important, like the model that I set for the people around me. And I am super pleased with the community that I've built for myself. And that's the part that I like, because, people are going to show up and smile and take pictures with you when you win the awards. But once all that fanfare is done, I have a great group of people that I love on and I send memes to every day. So I'm thankful for them.
In the group chat. I love that you shared about intergenerational relationships, because one of the trends that's I'm seeing with some of the executives that I work with is that there is now being a shift where people are trying to get the older generation out, those 50 plus, and this business strategy of surviving because I'll just hire younger talent who I don't have to pay as much. And so what value do you think that companies or organizations are losing by trying to get rid of a particular generation?
I mean, a considerable amount. I mean, we all know that age doesn't necessarily equal wisdom.
Okay, true.
But it definitely signals an experience, and even though, my mother taught me how to walk, I still we all have the same phone, so that when she calls one of us, we can help walk her through whatever's going on. And the wisdom that I gained from her, like I said, she still weaves. She still is what she calls a petty trader. She has done it all her life since in Africa. So I still learn so many gems from this woman about business. And I send my daughter to her. I send my 10-year-old with her on events, and, they put the table up together, and I'm sure Samantha is coming away with a knowledge that the best schools could never teach her. And at the same time, I know Samantha is telling my mom about Korean barbecue and matcha, and, I'm sure she's introducing her to some of the new things that are popping up around my mom that she may not have, a better understanding of. It's immeasurable. The diversity. If you claim to propose diverse thoughts, age is diversity. And the rapidness of technology in our lifestyles, you have to pause and respect the people who have, were around when the .com boom happened, and remember what that is, and
Y2K, everything was gonna fall apart. Planes were gonna fall out of the sky.
Like how all of that changed in the how people reacted, and they're the same people making decisions now. So that is unfortunate, that some of these corporations are finding older workers maybe not what they are looking to hold on to. But you're missing out. You're missing out. The young people definitely bring freshness and information, but it's an African proverb, sitting under a tree and at your elders' feet to listen, to learn, and become wise.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'd love to give you the opportunity to issue a challenge to our audience, whether that is for their personal life or their professional life or both.
Well, my challenge for your personal and professional life is in those moments where you're feeling a little overwhelmed, and we're coming up on, I'm not sure when this airs, but around holiday seasons, it can get really, outside can be, driving can be horrible, and just people's attitudes can get horrible. Go touch some grass. That's the Gullah Geechee saying. Go outside and touch grass. And that just means, if you want to be a hippie from the 60s, hug a tree. If you, enjoy places like the beach, go outside to the beach, go sniff some of that salt air, go to the river, go look at something green, give yourself 30 minutes. I'd love it if you could walk that 30 minutes, because that'll definitely help. But just make sure your desk is facing a window. If you're feeling those anxious moments, if you don't know where to go, if you're confused, go outside, touch some grass, take some deep breaths, and then, get back to it. That's my challenge to you. When those moments arise, go touch some grass, y'all.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. And shoot, even if they don't arise, go out and do it anyway, just to bring some freshness into your life. I've really loved everything that you've shared with us and given us a peek into things that people have not considered, and hopefully you've maybe even inspired someone to call an older relative that they may not have talked to lately, or to connect with that little young niece or cousin, or just to create more of a community around you. And so your lessons have been invaluable.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share, and thank you for the platform to speak to people about these things. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Until next time.
All right, guys. Go touch some grass, y'all.
Yes, touch grass. Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in to view us. You've been watching Leadership Beyond Burnout. I'm your host, Dr. Kimberly L. Wilson. And you can see us here every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific. And we'll have links to our sponsor in the comments section. Until next time.